advisor of our country, Mr. Arvind Subramaniam, said that GST will help in making India by making one India. Great step by Team India, great step towards transformation and great step towards transparency. It is GST, as remarked by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. He even said that the passing of the GST bill by a consensus reflects that Rashtra Niti is about Rajniti. It's a real honor for me to stand in front of a proactive gathering who have sensed the wave of change in our country and have taken the first step towards self-development and self-learning by being a part of this GST training program. As a student, it is my first duty to never stop learning. However, leaders, real leaders, never stop learning. Even the motto of our institute says, Yayashu Sukteshu Jagati. It also inspires us to stay awake and alert. I request everyone to have a huge round of applause for all of us who have gathered here to learn together. Please. Thank you so much. Moving ahead, I'm really glad to welcome you all to this journey with our smart captains, CSKMA Hitesh Shah sir and CA Navkar sir. Please, a huge round of applause for them. CSKMA Hitesh Shah sir, who is always known for his visionary approach and extremely supportive nature, is the pioneer for providing best education and support to the students of Chartered Accountancy, Company Secretary and various other professional courses by establishing the Navkar Institute. He has always been supportive for learning and overall development for all the people who have come across him. So I would like to invite Mr. Hitesh sir to inaugurate this session through his words of wisdom. Please, sir.
Good morning, my dearest colleague. Welcome to this GST session. In fact, since last few months at Navkar, we started various seminars for CA final students regarding seminar this GST awareness. Continuously, almost every Sunday, we were inviting many of the professionals at Navkar. And few months back, there was advertisement of Central Government of India regarding GST training in all parts of the country, and that central government authority, that is NASEN. NASEN is a National Academy for Customs, Excise and Narcotics. So it made an advertisement that whosoever are interested for GST training can apply. So from the Gujarat state, nearly 300 institutes, various institutes have applied for GST training. Then afterwards, central government has shortlisted out of those 300, nearly 10 to 12 institutes like NIRMA, PDPU and all this. सभी इंस्टीट्यूट्स के जो हेड थे उनको दिल्ली बुलाया था, सबके फॉर्मल इंटरव्यूज़ हुए, हमारे यहाँ से भी टीम गई थी. उसमें से फॉर्चुनेटली 300 में से सिर्फ नवकार ही एक ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूट है कि जिनको उन्होंने पूरे गुजरात के लिए सिलेक्ट किया. सो नाउ थैंक यू. So Navkar is the only institute who is an official training partner for GST for the entire Gujarat state. वो इंटरव्यूज़ बहुत सारे चले थे वहाँ पे. दिल्ली में जो IAS ऑफिसर है, जो पूरी टीम है IAS की, जो ये GST के लिए देखते हैं, बहुत लर्नेड लोग हैं और इंटरव्यूज़ भी बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट रहा था. इट वाज नॉट वन इंटरव्यू, दे हैड नंबर ऑफ इंटरव्यूज़ दे हैव कंडक्टेड, क्योंकि उन लोगों को जो ये ट्रेनिंग है उनके लिए जो एंथुजियाज्म लेवल नेशनल लेवल पे जो है दिल्ली पे, वो अलग ही है. सिलेक्ट होने के बाद हमारे जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट फैकल्टीज़, क्वालिफाइड फैकल्टीज़ हैं, उन लोगों को उन्होंने 3 दिन के लिए मुंबई घाटकोपर नासेन का ट्रेनिंग सेंटर है वहाँ पे बुलाया. वहाँ पे 3 दिन की रिगरस ट्रेनिंग दी. उसके बाद उनकी फॉर्मल एग्ज़ाम्स हुई और एग्ज़ाम्स में रिजल्ट्स नवकार के सभी फैकल्टीज़ के पॉजिटिव आए. फिर उन्होंने ऑफिशियल सर्टिफिकेट्स दिया दैट यू आर ऑफिशियल GST ट्रेनर. और अभी हमारी टीम में से CA धवल गांधी जो है, ही इज़ faculty for the indirect tax since many years. He in fact has taught more than 2,000 students indirect taxes, and he is author of his book he has published a few years back, which is also one of the highest selling books in indirect tax. So he is going to be a trainer today, and he will help us to understand the entire GST practical applications, compliances, and all this. I hope that we will try to meet up the expectations of all of you, and we try to make this 3 days sessions very wonderful and most valuable, and that is your investment of your time that should fetch benefit to the society as a whole. और ऐसे हम लोग सेमिनार्स सिर्फ अहमदाबाद में नहीं, बहुत सारी जगह पे करने वाले हैं. रिसेंटली यस्टरडे ऑल्सो वी हैड मीटिंग विद द फिनांस डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ गुजरात गवर्नमेंट. वो लोग भी हमारे साथ ये ट्रेनिंग में जुड़ रहे हैं. तो बहुत जगह पे हम लोग गवर्नमेंट के जो ऑफिसर्स हैं उनकी भी ट्रेनिंग करने वाले हैं. एंड थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू फॉर रिपोजिंग ट्रस्ट इन नवकार. मेनी ऑफ यू आर एसोसिएटेड विद नवकार सिंस मेनी ईयर्स. सो आप लोगों को देख के बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. और आप आज जो यहाँ पे बैठे एज ए स्टूडेंट नहीं बैठे, एज ए हमारे कलीग बैठ रहे हैं, एज ए क्वालिफाइड CA बैठ रहे हैं, तो बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. एंड विश यू ऑल अ ग्रेट टाइम, great luck, and enjoy the journey. And thank you for staying with us. Thank you all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to introduce the most dynamic driver of this whole training session, CA Dhaval Gandhi. He's not only known for his exceptionally sound technical knowledge, but he is also an approved GST trainer by National Academy of Customs, Excise and Narcotics, that is NACIN. He has also successfully conducted workshops in various corporates for GST training, including Hitachi Technology and Chemical Technology Institute of India. So without much ado, let's begin our session by inviting CA Dhaval Gandhi, sir, to carry this session forward. Happy learning. Best of luck.
Good morning, dear colleagues. And before I start with the GST part, I would just first thank you, Hitesh. Because I don't think so any institute or anyone in Ahmedabad or maybe in Gujarat or India is ready to provide this kind of opportunity which he has given to me. I started with Navkar as a student, maybe in 2004-5, and then continued with my journey as in faculty from 2010 onwards. And as of now serving as in faculty as well as a director at CA final level. So it is a great pleasure for working with Hitesh sir, and more important, lastly, he gave me an opportunity that we can run entire GST. And it was one of the big thing, because to run GST for students is one thing, because we are mastering that since years, but to run it for trade and industry is again, and a professional. And probably I understand that throughout the session we'll come across so many such questions. Now I'm literally saying this because I've been doing training for various companies as well as associated with training in NACIN. So there are so many questions of which answer is still not available or still are pending. So when we are on this side, when we are on the side of the audience and when we ask questions, that's okay. But when we are on this side and there are questions of which answer is not available, so it is even a big challenge for us to come and give an answer of all those questions. And Hitesh sir has reposed this trust on me, saying that yes, you can do that. You can give a training and you can also help the people to understand to the maximum. So first, very much thank you to Navkar as well as to Hitesh sir for giving me such opportunity and reposing the trust on me. And I would also like to thank Pratiksha for such a nice introduction. Now, before I start with the training session, just one or two things as a procedure. Sorry, yes. So before we start the training, just one or two things. I believe majority of us are in practice or maybe in profession as in job, but to maintain the decorum, it would be great if we are not using the mobile throughout the session, or if at all is some urgency, at least we can go out and talk rather than disturbing the entire class. So requesting all to keep the decorum. And one more thing, we'll be able to solve majority of the doubts and things, but we also need to understand that within 3 days, we need to complete entire training. So it should not happen that we are so much going in doubts that we are not able to complete the basic work. So we will have a doubt solving session, but it should not be throughout the session, because at every 5 minutes, if someone will keep on asking doubts, probably it may so happen that your majority of doubts will get resolved at the end of the session, because it may relate to some other topic. So rather than going for doubts at every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, we'll keep a time. Maybe at the time of lunch break, we'll keep 15 minutes. So for discussion, for doubt solving, or maybe at the end of the day, we will keep 15 minutes for discussion or doubt solving. Or it may so happen that still your doubts remains unsolved or unresolved. Then we will keep a kind of a criteria that you can mail us or you can send your doubts by some portal, and we'll be able to answer all of them. So just keep that in mind, that ultimate objective is to complete the training in a limited time period, because we have 9 to 5:30 for 3 days, and as we understand, it's a law and law cannot be entirely done in 3 days. So we have to cover the core aspects. Still we have to focus on compliance issues and compliance which are related to practical world. So for that we need a lot of time. So requesting all to keep both the things in mind, that one, we don't use mobile phones during the session, or if required we will go out and talk. And second thing is, throughout the session, try to, if at all you have doubts, then you may put down on your paper, and we will discuss at the relevant point of time, rather than going at every stage doubt solving. Now, now about basic, you are all given with a folder which includes 3-4 things. One of them is the entire 3 days portion, what we will do in 3 days. So as of now, we are starting with first session. That session is about comparison with GST and existing tax system, where we'll be comparing all the existing indirect taxes which are there in economy and the direct comparison with the GST part. In second session, what we will try to cover is the basic component of the GST, and that is supply. Third session, we will try and cover up the time and place of, time and value of supply. And in the last session today, we will try to cover up the tax invoice as well as accounts and records that we need to keep, we need to maintain. Second day, again, we will continue in the same manner. We'll start with the registration. We will cover up with the place of supply. We will also continue with the transitional provisions and so on and on. So it's a 3 days training. Entire basic portion has been given. Now, when I say goods and services tax, let me be very clear about this. As of now, out of the total taxes that Indian economy is having, approximately it is around 17,80,000 crore is what we are earning on year-to-year basis in terms of total taxes. Out of that, almost 60% comes from indirect taxes. So we are talking about almost the 10 lakh crore revenue. If I say that 10 lakh crore revenue, approximately around 14-15% of that is from customs, which is around 1.5 lakh crore. But all other revenue comes from either excise or service tax or VAT, CST or other taxes. Now, as we understand, custom is not going to be part of this, but all other things are going to be merged under one roof, and that is what we call as GST, goods and services tax. Now, first of all, before we move ahead, we just need to understand the history, that where we are as of now. The first idea when we thought that we want to implement or we want to bring GST, it is here mentioned as year 2000, but precisely I have read somewhere on some BJP module that the initial idea of GST was introduced by BJP at the time of Vajpayee government, and it was somewhere in 97 or 99, sorry 99 precisely. But on paper, the documents, all things have started gathering from the year 2000. So this is the year where we have thought of bringing GST. But nothing concrete could be done till the year 2006. In 2006, one of the first step was taken as an empowered committee was kind of decided, and a first idea was thought that by 2010 we will try and implement GST. But as we understand, we are completely lacking in terms of achieving that target. 2010 tak to basic final paper bhi decide nahi hota. What is there, what is going to be there on all that. Then it moved ahead. But one of the benchmark event that has been done was in year 2014 when Modi government came in power, and because of their majority in the Lok Sabha, they could pass it easily. But again, it was pending from the side of the Rajya Sabha, which we understand it got approved in the year 2016. And again, the president gave approval in the year 2016. So we had only 1 year from that. And by or before that, at any cost, the GST has to be implemented, which we understand. Otherwise, the entire act would become scrap. So as of now, what we are thinking is September 2017 is the last, because the last approval was given in September 2016. So 1 year has to be counted from that. So September 2017 is the last date by which it has to be implemented. If not, so it will be scrapped. But the deadline, which as of now, earlier I believe everybody is aware that the deadline was 1st April, but because of hardcore politics and all those things at the central level, it could not be achieved. But as of now, we see that 1st July, and I believe everybody is now more or less convinced that 1st July is a date by which GST will be there. So this is the first thing that we need to understand, that this has been over a period of time, this has remained the scenario of bringing the GST. And as we understand, the old model GST law, which was approved by Parliament, it was there in last year, June, July, which was initially approved by Parliament. That got revised in the year, in November, and that again got recently revised as a bill and has been sent to all the houses. And I believe yesterday also it was there news that President has given the approval to that also. So now we consider that as final portion as of now, unless something extraordinary comes in and some plus minus happens. Otherwise, we understand that the model bill which was brought in March end and April 1st week is the final one, and which we need to understand. So we will also follow that only. We are going to cover up the major portion as per that portion only, so that there is no chances of prospective amendments in that. Now, when I say GST, so we need to understand that what is the present tax structure in India as of now. So, in and all, we have around 20 indirect taxes, which includes excise, customs, service tax, VAT, local body taxes, entertainment tax, octroi. We have many other taxes in similar line. All of them, as we understand, would come under one roof, except the one which we understand as a custom duty. These are the few of the taxes which we understand is either central levy or state levy. The first one, if we start from the top, is basic custom duty, which is anyway not going to be changed under GST. Then another is what we called as additional duty of custom under 3(1) is what we know as CVD, which is equal to excise burden and is going to be part of the GST. Another is a special additional duty of customs, which is equal to VAT, is again going to be part of the GST system. The next one is excise duty, which anyway is going to be one of the major component of the GST. Service tax and the central sales tax, all of them are going to be subsumed under the proposed tax regime, what we called as GST. On the other side, when we say state levy, so we have VAT, obviously is going to be merged. Then we also have entertainment tax. Again, there are criteria for that. Entertainment tax by state government or by local bodies. The one which is by local body is not going to be subsumed under GST, while the one which is by state government is anyway going to be subsumed under GST. So when we talk about entertainment tax, so we need to decide, is it by state government or by local bodies? If it is state government, we will definitely consider that. And when I say octroi or LBT or entry taxes, again the same criteria. If it is by state government, is going to be subsumed. If it is by local bodies, there is no question of subsuming that under part of the GST. Now, one of the first thing is, as they advertise, is on the ruling party or what we say BJP, they are advertising is one nation, one tax. And when we say one nation, one tax, the idea is also a good one. Not only from the student's perspective, but also from the implementation perspective. Rather than following 10 acts, if we have one act, I believe it brings a stability. And that is one of the basic objectives. So when we say one nation, one tax, we cover pan-India entirely one tax. But we need to keep that in mind, and import and export is not part of one nation, one tax. So custom is not going to be part of this in any case. Now, apart from naming all these taxes on right hand side, I believe you can see that I have mentioned the rates of almost all taxes. But what we need to focus on this is the one which are in red one are the one which are not eligible for credit. I believe everybody understands that the basic custom duty is not eligible for credit. Similarly, we understand central sales tax is anyway not going to be allowed as credit. Similarly, when we say entry taxes or local body taxes is again not going to be allowed as credit. And one of the basic reason why we are bringing in GST is, see, I'll tell you, once upon a time in excise there was a complete double taxation, which got removed initially by what we called as moderate, which was brought in the year 1986-87, which further got removed by what we called as Senate, which was brought in the year 2000-2001. Again, there was another set of Senate rules, which was brought in the year 2004. And which we are again revising with what we called as goods and services tax. So if we actually understand, it is continuously changing. Why there was a problem with double tax, why there was a need or a requirement of moderate. धारा उलट कर आपको एक sorry. Yes, I'm sorry for disturbance. Yes, please. What I was saying is there was a double taxation issue and there was a need of moderate to remove that double taxation. That moderate again got changed with Senate. So there was some anomaly in moderate. Like I believe majority of you understand that moderate was allowing credit of tax paid at a previous stage, but was allowing only credit of materials, nothing beyond that. But when from moderate we came up with the concept of Senate, in initial Senate 2000-2001, it was allowing the credit of materials as well as it was allowing the credit of machines. So capital goods, what we called as. Then when came Senate Credit Rules 2004, it was not only allowing the credit of material, it was not only allowing the credit of machines, but it was also allowing the credit of services. So it brought service tax and excise in parity in one line. But as of now, why there is a need of GST? So in excise and service tax we have a parity, but we don't have a parity with VAT. We don't have a parity with CST. So to resolve that issue, what we say as GST, because there are chances that as a manufacturer, I am also acquiring on goods which is VAT is paid, so I am not going to set off. As a service provider, I am receiving goods on which VAT is paid. That is not going to be set off. So to remove that anomaly, what we came up is GST. GST is going to allow in every case except what we say as customs. So let's just discuss the format once again. This is what we have as of now. And I'll straight away, see, I'll just start with 4 types of transactions. What if I import? What if I go for intrastate procurement? What if I go for interstate procurement? And what if I go for service receipt? I'm on the acquisition side, I'm importing. On the acquisition side, I'm receiving intrastate. On the acquisition side, I'm receiving interstate. And on the acquisition side, I'm receiving services. These are the 4 types of procurement that we have. Now, this is first we will cover under existing tax system and we'll straight away compare all these 4 transactions if it is under GST. This is the first thing to understand the comparison. Now, I believe everybody understands this, that on left hand side when we import, first we charge excise. Then first we charge basic custom duty. First we charge basic custom duty on which we charge CVD. I believe everybody understands CVD is there to counterbalance excise. I hope everybody is clear with that. So we charge CVD, which is 3-1, what they technically say. Then there is EC and SHEC component, and then there is special CVD. And as we again understand, special CVD is there to counterbalance VAT. So this is an existing tax system. Now, if I say I have imported something, I first need to decide that I am under which category. Am I a manufacturer? Am I a further trader? Or am I a service provider? If I am a manufacturer, so can I say whatever I manufacture on which I need to pay excise and VAT? So as a manufacturer, I am liable for excise and VAT, and on import, I have paid CVD and special CVD, which is nothing but excise and VAT. So I believe everybody understands that I get a credit of excise and VAT, so I get a credit of CVD and special CVD. So if I get a credit of CVD and special CVD, that is one thing, but I believe everybody understands that the basic custom duty and EC, SLEC is not eligible for credit. So if it is not eligible for credit, ultimately it's going to increase my cost. That is if I am a manufacturer. The same thing if I assume that I am a trader and I have imported a product, then what will happen is, as a trader, I am neither going to get a credit of custom duty, nor I am going to get credit of CVD and special CVD. Reason, it's a central government tax, and what I am going to pay is a state government tax, assuming VAT is applicable. So ना मुझे बेसिक कस्टम ड्यूटी का क्रेडिट मिलेगा, ना ही मुझे सीवीडी का क्रेडिट मिलेगा, ना ही मुझे ECSHGC का क्रेडिट मिलेगा, ना ही मुझे स्पेशल सीवीडी का क्रेडिट मिलेगा. So everything is going to be part of my. But yes, as we understand in the profession, that as a trader I will get a refund of special CVD. But I will not get credit of everything. So entire portion will become my cost as a trader. So all taxes will become part of my cost. Similarly, if I say third portion where I am a service provider. If I am a service provider, then what are the chances? So if I am a service provider, as we understand that excise and service tax is completely interchangeable, and as a service provider I have to pay service tax, so I get a credit of excise, so again I get a credit of CVT. I believe everybody understands that also. So I definitely get a credit of CVD, but as a service provider, I am supposed to pay service tax, but I am not at all dealing with VAT. So as a service provider, I will pay service tax, but I'll not pay VAT, so I'll not even get a credit of VAT, so I'll not even get a credit of special sale. I hope everybody is again following. So as a service provider, what will become my part of cost? So the basic custom duty, EC, and special civil. So these three are going to be part of my cost. I'll again repeat this. As a manufacturer, what happens is, as a manufacturer, I'll get credit of CVD and special CVD, but I'll never get credit of basic custom duty and EC. Similar way, as a trader, what I'll get is nothing credit, but yes, I'll get a refund of special CVD. As a third portion, where I'm a service provider, I'll get a credit of CVD, but I'm not going to get credit of basic custom duty, EC, and special CVD. So this all are going to be part of my cost, and if my cost would increase, I believe everybody understands that ultimately is going to result into double taxation and more increase in price of the commodity, which is as of now happening. This is, I am assuming that I am an importer. On the right hand side, the same transaction, now we are assuming that we are procuring a goods, but now it is an intrastate procurement rather than import. So if it is an intrastate procurement, I'm just putting an assumption on that excise is applicable and VAT is applicable, assuming Gujarat 12.5% plus 2.5% additional VAT we assume. So if that is the case, now again I need to decide that I'm a manufacturer, I'm a trader, or I'm a service provider. I have procured certain goods, but if I'm a manufacturer, so I'm again supposed to pay excise and VAT. So if I'm supposed to pay excise and VAT on procurement, I've paid excise and VAT, I'll definitely get credit of both and I'll set off that against my VAT. Second possibility would be, if I am a trader only, so as a trader, I need to pay VAT. So what will happen in my case is, I need to pay VAT, so I'll get a credit of VAT, I'll not get credit of excise. That is very much possible that as a VAT, as a trader, I'm registered as a first stage dealer or second stage dealer under excise, and I can simply pass on the credit of SENVAT from one manufacturer to other, which is very much visible. But from the credit perspective, I'm not going to get credit. That is for sure. And if I'm a service provider, so as we understand, service tax and excise as a completely interchangeable thing. So I get a credit of excise to pay service tax, but I'm not going to get credit of VAT. So VAT is going to be part of my cost. So I believe everybody understands this, that if there is an import, so this are going to be my cost as a manufacturer, as a trader, and as a service provider. And if I am going for intrastate procurement, then again in same situation, what is going to be my cost as a manufacturer, as a trader, and as a service provider. I believe everybody is sure with this. Moving ahead with this, now if I say another two procurements, one is interstate procurement. Again on right hand side, we say interstate procurement. So when I say interstate procurement, so we understand that on which excise is charged and CST is charged, assuming registered dealer C-form will be issued, so CST will be charged as 2%. So if that is the case, as a manufacturer, I'm supposed to pay excise, so definitely I'll get a credit of excise, but I believe everybody understands CST is nowhere eligible for credit, so I'm not going to get credit of that. Similar way, if I say I'm a trader and I'm supposed to pay VAT, so to pay VAT, if VAT is charged, I get a credit of VAT, but here VAT is not charged. Here what is charged is CST, and CST is anyway not eligible for credit. And excise is anyway not going to be eligible for credit to a trader. If it is registered as a first stage, second stage dealer, he can pass on SENVAT of excise, but he will not get a credit. That is for sure. And similar way, a service provider. So as a service provider, I'm neither going to get credit of VAT nor going to get credit of CST. So ये CST portion भूल जाना पड़ेगा. Excise का credit मिल जाएगा, which I can set off against my VAT. So again, in this, as we understand, the problem is happening in case of double taxation because few taxes are eligible for credit and few are not. Similar way, if I say I have received a service on which service tax is paid, assuming Swachh Bharat is also there and Krishi Kalyan is also there. So, as I believe everybody understands, in every case, Swachh Bharat is not eligible for credit. Krishi Kalyan is eligible. Now I need to check all the three possibilities. Am I a manufacturer? Am I a trader? Or am I a service provider? If I say I'm a manufacturer, so I believe everybody understands service tax and excise is interchangeable, so I get a credit of service tax. I'll also get a credit of Krishi Kalyan cess, but the point is where I use it. Because I believe everybody understands that the credit of Krishi Kalyan cess can be used only against Krishi Kalyan. I am a service provider, I'm a manufacturer. How am I going to pay Krishi Kalyan? So there is no question of Krishi Kalyan in my case. So though it is eligible for credit, ultimately it results into cost for benefit to use. So that is where I am saying about a manufacturer. If I'm a trader, so everything is cost. Because VAT service tax no interchangeability is allowed. And if I'm a service provider, okay, I'll get a credit of service tax as well as Krishi Kalyan. But as I said, SBC is nowhere eligible for credit. So few taxes are as of now eligible for credit and few taxes are becoming part of. So this is what we consider as the biggest problem in the existing tax system. Like to simplify this, what is happening is, first of all, there is a cascading effect. Why there is a cascading effect? I believe everybody understands that on each of the tax system, when we understand, like if this is the basic tax system which we focus, so interstate procurement on 100, we charge excise, and then we charge VAT or CST or any other tax, but we charge on total amount. So when we charge on total amount, it results into double taxation because जब 112.5 में tax लगेगा तो tax के ऊपर भी tax charge. So the first problem that we have is cascading impact. The burden is as of now becoming a big problem. Second one is non-availability. Fungibility नहीं है credit का. Excise service tax is there, but service tax VAT is not there. VAT service tax is not there. VAT excise is not there. Excise VAT is not there. So ये सारे existing में problem है. Non-availability of the credits against each other. So this is the second anomaly or second problem. The third one is multiplicity of the taxes at the center and state level, which is as of now a big problem because on same transaction even the center is charging tax and even the state is charging tax. The best example that I can give you is probably a transaction of lease, where I believe everybody understands that in lease we always say it's a matter of service, so service tax is also applicable and lease is also that transaction because it's considered as deemed sale under the definition of VAT and CS, under the act called VAT and CS. So multiplicity is happening. I mean, on same transaction, you are saying it is goods as well as service. Practically, either you say it is goods or you say it is service. But it is happening that we also consider it as goods and we charge VAT, and we also consider it as service and we charge service. So it's wrong thing precisely. So that has to be removed. That has to change. The last point is tax rates multiplicity is again a problematic thing. And one of the biggest issue as of now is faced by pharma industry. Why? Because on pharma, considering the medicine as one of the necessity structure, the rates are very low. But the materials are already always with higher. So in their case, in any pharma company, if you actually go into audit, you will find lots and lots of credit is there in balance. Why? Their existing system is there. Reason is, pharma being a part of the medicines necessity structure, उसपे excise और सारे taxes बहुत low है, और उनका जो material procurement है उसपे taxes already ज़्यादा है. So in their case, what is happening is too much taxes are there in their credit, but there is no option with regard to that. I mean, if we understand this, there is a last line, there is a format given, a bit of small portion, which says that on your input side. So if you have SENVIT, so that means when you have procured something on with SENVIT we assume excise as well as service tax. So on your input, there is SENVIT, and when we have a liability, so if SENVIT is there, so yes, it is completely interchangeable. But if I say on input there is SENVIT, on output there is VAT, it's not interchangeable. If I say on input there is SENVIT, on output there is CST, or on output maybe there is VAT, so VAT, CST and SENVIT is not possible. Similar way, on input if there is VAT, and on output if there is VAT, it is allowed. On output, if there is CST, as I believe everybody understands that VAT can be set off against CST. And on output, if there is SENVIT, it is not allowed. Similar way, on input, if we have CST, तो भूल ही जाओ, तो कहीं पे भी allowed नहीं. So this is the problem. I believe everybody understands the structure which I am discussing is the biggest problem which as of now we are facing. Now, as compared to that, what is the GST framework? A simple structure has been designed. A very simple. Can I say we bifurcate into three different types? Precisely, first we think that is it import, is it interstate, or is it intrastate? That is when I talk about goods. On service side, I mean whether you import or whether it is interstate or it is intrastate, there is only one tax and what we call as service. I will repeat this. On goods side, if you import, we have custom. If you go for interstate, we have CST burden. And when we have intrastate, we have VAT. On service component, whether it is import or it is interstate or it is intrastate, we have only one tax. While in GST, we don't have to divide goods or services. In GST, we always understand it's interstate or intrastate. It's interstate or intrastate. If it is intrastate, we follow a system called CGST and SGST. If it is interstate, we follow a system called as IGST. Let's understand that. Why I'm saying why there is interstate and intrastate. Let me be very clear on this. See, if I say I go for an intrastate procurement, which taxes are applicable? Intrastate procurement. Can I say first excise and then VAT? If it is intrastate procurement, first excise and then VAT. Excise is charged by central government and VAT is charged by state government. Yes, everyone? So when I say if it is excise which goes to central government and if it is VAT which goes to state government, so I believe everybody understands that in new tax system the same transaction should also go to both the governments. So excise is replaced by a term called CGST, which is only for understanding actually as I think. But in understanding we say that excise is what we replace as in CGST and VAT what we replace as in SGST. So if it is an intrastate procurement, earlier it was excise and VAT, now it is CGST and SGST. Simple understanding. Now let's put it this way, if it is interstate procurement, what do we have in interstate procurement? We have excise as well as CST. Excise goes to central government. CST, though it goes to ultimately state government due to their understanding, but it's a central levy. It's not a state levy. So the charge is with central government. So excise goes to central government, CST goes to central government, so entire tax should go to central government. So there is IGST, which entirely will go to central. At a later stage, that would again go to distributor. That's the second thing. We don't have to go into that as of now. Abhi to ek simple structure. Whether it is interstate procurement or it is intrastate procurement. If it is interstate procurement, it's a central government revenue. So we have a system called as IGST. And if it is intrastate procurement, we have a system called as CGST and SGST, which is a fundamental provision. I believe everybody understands that. अच्छा ये जो recent law आया ना उसके अंदर UTGST भी है. That is union territory. So what if goods are manufactured in union territory? ये तो आपने बोल दिया कि intrastate है तो क्या? कि गुजरात के अंदर बना गुजरात के अंदर गया. What if it is manufactured in Chandigarh and sold in Chandigarh? What if it is manufactured in Diu Daman and sold in Diu Daman? So do we have any system for that? So for that, now we have a system called UTGST as compared to CGST and SGST. वो जो problem है उसको resolve करने के लिए हम लोग जो system लेके आए that is called as UTGST rather than considering the same as CGST and SGST. So as of now, in this system, what we consider as we have dual GST model. See, why do we have dual GST model? See, what is dual GST basically? It's a center and state both are charging tax. What is dual GST? It's a center as well as state both are charging tax. Center is charging CGST portion and state is charging SGST. Achha, one of the first fundamental question for this would be why we have a dual GST model having center and state? Can't it be a situation where either only a center would charge a tax and only a state would charge a tax? Either or. So first, no, it can be possible that center would charge a tax and 50% they will give it to states. Why do we need center tax and state tax separate? There has to be some reason. ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है ना कि एक ही टैक्स चार्ज करें एंड देन बाद में शेयरिंग कर लें. I mean precisely वर्ल्ड की जितनी कंट्रीज में जीएसटी है उसमें आधे से ज्यादा जगह पे यही है सिर्फ 2 कंट्रीज जो हमारा वाला सिस्टम फॉलो करते हैं. I mean rather हम उनका वाला फॉलो करते हैं. Only 2 countries are there which are following this system. All other countries are having a straight system, only one GST. Only India, third one, who is following this. Other than that, all countries are having only one GST. We have dual GST model, center and state. What is the reason for that, first of all? So we need to understand this. As of now, in India, whether center is only charging tax or state is only charging tax or both are charging. So if both are charging tax, if tomorrow comes a GST system whereby entire tax will be charged by center and at a later stage, center will share that with the state, then what is the problem? I believe we understand if center में और state में अलग-अलग government होगा तो क्या होगा? You क्योंकि सेंटर पूरा टैक्स ले जाएगा, बाद में स्टेट को शेयर करेगा, और जब दोनों में अलग अलग गवर्नमेंट होगा तो क्या होगा वो बीजी। सिमिलर वे इफ आई से अज्यूम कर लो उस हिसाब से जाए कि सारा पावर स्टेट को दे दे, स्टेट वुड शेयर इट विद द सेंटर। सो आई बिलीव नाउ a father has to be dependent on son. The same thing. So this anyway is not going to change. Reason, nobody is ready to lose their autonomy. I mean, who loses that? If I have a power, do you think that I come up with the say, okay, आप कर दो, बाद में मुझे दे दो? Nobody is ready to lose their autonomy. So neither center is ready to give up, nor state is ready to give up. So rather than going in dispute, we came up with the model called as dual GST, where center would also charge tax and state would also charge tax. So in that we have CGST and SGST, but along with that we also have IGST. We just have to follow a concept. Is it intra or inter? Intra is CGST and SGST. Inter is IGST. But whether it is goods or it is service, it is same in every case. Goods है तो भी वही CGST SGST मॉडल है, सर्विस है तो भी वही CGST SGST मॉडल। और अगर इंट्रा है तो ये है, अगर इंटर है तो हर एक जगह पे IGST. I believe everybody is clear with this portion. One of the questions which I would like to ask over here is, what if there is import? In import, what are we going to follow? We need to understand that, because if I say import of goods, so on that there is basic custom duty. Then there is CVD, which is equal to excise. Then we have ECSHEC. And then we have special CVD, which is equal to VAT. So on import, we have excise burden and we have VAT burden. What will happen in GST? Are we going to have CGST, SGST or IGST? It's going to be only IGST. What is the logic of that? Simple reason. A simple basic reason. Though it is excise in the name of CVD, though it is VAT in the name of special CVD, the revenue of CVD and special CVD goes to who? So if it goes to central government, then obviously the power is with center, and the entire power will be exercised by center only. It would be under the heading called IGST. Where there is CGST and SGST, when it is center as well as state. We always say that on import we charge special CVD. It is to counterbalance VAT, but it is to counterbalance VAT. It is a power of center. So if it is a power of center, then tax would also go to center. And whenever there is center, it is only one tax called IGST. I hope you understand this. Now, this is the model which we are following. We have CGST, SGST, IGST, as well as a fourth one called as UTGs, which is in case of union territories. Now, the basic structure given over here is, as we understand, on 100 rupees, we will also charge CGST and we will also charge SGST. So, first thing that we need to understand is we are removing double taxation. Why we are removing double taxation? So on 100 earlier excise was charged and on total amount VAT was charged. While in this case, on entire 100 rupees we are charging one tax, and that is why we are removing double taxation, because on the same 100 rupees we are charging an entire amount. I believe everybody understands that also. Okay, one of the first thing or one of the most important thing for this would be the center is anyway going to get the same revenue probably, but the states are going to get more revenue. Due to this model, it is only because of service tax support. आप समझो सर्विस टैक्स में अब तक कौन टैक्स लगा रहा है? It was entirely center, but now if there is intra-state procurement of service, is it a central government tax or is it a is it IGST or CGST and SGST? So I believe we understand that अब सर्विस पोर्शन में भी किसको टैक्स मिल रहा है? स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. तो I believe भले ऐसा कहीं पे बोला जा रहा है कि स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की रेवेन्यू अफेक्ट होने वाली, ऐसा पता है ना सबको, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की रेवेन्यू अफेक्ट हो रही है. क्यों हो रही है वो भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे. बट ये भी एक पॉइंट है कि स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की रेवेन्यू इससे बढ़ने की वाली, क्योंकि अब तक उनके पास ये टैक्स का पावर ही नहीं. नाउ दे हैव स्टार्टेड गेटिंग टैक्स, सो इट्स गोइंग टू इंक्रीज द रेवेन्यू ऑफ द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट बिकॉज़ ऑफ दिस. नाउ under this model which we have designed as of now, what can be set off? This is a main advantage. What can be set off? When I say what can be set off, so we need to understand that every tax can be set off against everything precisely, except I am being very clear about this, except CGST and SGST internally cannot be set off. Other than that, everything can be set off. Let's just put an assumption. See, When I say I have a procurement, so I have procured something, there are four different possibilities. Possibility number one, I assume that I procured something interstate and I am also supplying interstate. Possibility number two, I procured something intrastate and I am supplying also intrastate. Third point, I have done procurement of interstate and I am supplying intrastate. In the fourth one, I have done a procurement of intrastate and I am supplying interstate. ये चार possibilities है. बराबर. If I say I have done a procurement of interstate, I believe now everybody understands interstate is IGST. And on supply side again interstate, so it is IGST. So I believe everybody understands IGST can be set off against IGST. Second, if I say I have done a procurement of intrastate, so it is CGST and SGST. And on supply side also there is intrastate, so it is CGST and SGST. So I believe everybody understands that CGST against CGST and SGST against SGST. Third possibility, I have done a procurement of interstate and a supply of intrastate. So on procurement I would go for IGST and on supply I would go for CGST and SGST. As we understand now, everything can be set off against everything. So IGST can be set off against CGST as well as can be set off against SGST. ये समझ में आया. And same way, the fourth option is if I have done an intrastate procurement and on liability side there is interstate supply. So on intrastate procurement I think of CGST and SGST. On liability side I think of IGST. So I believe everybody understands that the CGST and SGST both can be set off against IGST. I hope we understand that. Achha, there is a mechanism designed for that. See, I believe if IGST is setting off against IGST, I don't think so anyone is having a problem with that. If CGST is getting set off against CGST, still not a problem. If SGST against SGST, still there is not a problem. But the moment you think that SGST is getting set off against IGST or IGST is getting set off against SGST, so can I say state government tax is getting set off against center and center is getting set off against? I believe everybody understands the point. If that is happening, so there has to be some mechanism, and that mechanism is already decided by government, and that is their internal issue which we are not supposed to worry. What I'll also show you with the example at a later stage when we will discuss the place of supply, because over there we will discuss IGST applicability, so we will discuss of that part. But in simple word, if I say, in simple word, what is given is, if I say I have done an interstate procurement on which IGST is paid, and if I set off that IGST against SGST, so ultimately what will happen is center will give that much portion to the states in cash, and for that they will maintain an account which will be adjusted at the end of the period. They will internally manage it, it's not our concern. So this is one of the welcome change for industry, because earlier आप center or state के tax को internally set off नहीं कर सकते, जो अभी allowed because of this system. Okay, let me just take one example to get an idea on what I've said is what can be set off against what. See, I'm covering here 3-4 transactions. There are 2 persons involved. First one is called as D1. Second one is called as D2. There are 2 people. D1 is first making a procurement. So on that tax is paid. Now D1 is selling to D2. So again there is tax. And now D2 in turn is further selling it to another person. So there is again a tax. So at the 3 stages we are talking about tax. Number 1 I would say is D1 made a procurement. D1 to D2. So again there is a liability. And D2 to third person is again a liability. Let's just put an assumption, a rough assumption, that on the side of the D1 is procuring a material of 50 rupees, which is intrastate procurement. So if it is intrastate procurement, can I say we are talking about CGST and SGST? The rate is assumed as of now is 10. I believe everybody understands that 10 is not going to be there any cost. Rates आ चुके हैं, कौन सी product पे क्या वो सब बात की बात है. But I am just putting a rough assumption to understand the complexity. ठीक है? Now if I say कि 50 रुपए का internal procurement है, intrastate procurement है, तो उसपे CGST and SGST लगा है, equal rate है दोनों का. CGST का 10% है, SGST का भी 10%. So 5-5 दोनों का हो. Same way again I have done an interstate procurement as a D1. which is interstate, so on which IGST is going to charge. So on 20% would be charged as an IGST, so it would be again 10 rupees. So on total 100 rupees procurement, there is 20 rupees tax, which includes 10 rupees as IGST, 5 rupees as CGST, and 5 rupees as SGST. Now that T1 is making a transaction which is an interstate transaction. So when I use the word as interstate transaction, so we understand what is applicable? IDST. It is assumed as the amount of 110. So on 110 we charge a tax of 20%. So it is a liability of 22. 22 liability of IGST. So on 22 liability of IGST, one by one we will start setting off the taxes. First we will set off IGST of 10 rupees. First we will set off IGST of 10. Second we will set off CGST or SGST. First center, then state center. So we will set off CGST of 5 rupees and we will also set off SGST of 5 rupees. I believe everybody understands at this point of time, state government tax is getting set off against central government tax. So ultimately in their accounts, what will happen is state would credit that amount. State would give that amount to center in accounts. In their accounts, which will be adjusted at the end of the period. But state has to remit that amount to. I hope we understand. And remaining 2 rupees would be paid in cash. Now think from the perspective of the T2, who has done a procurement at 110 rupees with 22 rupees as ITS. Now he is making a further supply. So when he is making a further supply at 140, he'll pay tax. Now we are putting an assumption that he is making intrastate supply. So when he is making intrastate supply, I believe everybody understands that now it is not going to be IGST, rather it would be CGST and SGST. I hope everybody is following. So if it is CGST and SGST, so on 140 we will assume 10% as CGST, which is 14, and 10% of SGST, which is again 14. So CGST 14 and SGST 14. So now we have a 28 rupees liability and we have a 22 rupees credit. But we need to understand that the 22 rupees credit is IGST and the liability is CGST and SGST. So first center against center. So entire 14 will be first set off against CGST, and then whatever is left out would be set off against SGST, and 6 rupees would be paid in cash. Again, no need to, I believe, focus on that tax would be passed on by center to state. I believe everybody would be able to understand that. It is their internal adjustment. I believe everybody is clear with this concept. Yes, so far, I mean, whatever we have discussed, any point on this, if anyone has a query or something regard to this, whatever, because these are basic things which we understand. I'm just supposed to, in this first portion, I just need to convey what is an existing system and what is GST. So any question about it? Okay, moving ahead with this then, when I say fundamental changes, these are the main changes that we are expecting through GST model. And one of the few basic or few relevant changes that we are expecting in the GST. The first one is what we are shifting is towards a dual GST structure. When I use the word as we are shifting towards a dual GST structure, why I have already conveyed that we are talking about the center and state both are going to charge the tax. Other than that, मैंने पहले भी बोला कि बहुत सारी countries में GST applicable है. Probably we are one of the last one to implement the GST structure. But everywhere they are following under only one GST system. Only we are following, apart from 2 other countries, we are following this model. So dual GST structure is what we are following. Second is again a main relevant change. We are shifting from origin-based taxation to destination. Anyone would like to comment why? Why we are shifting from origin to destination? Sorry? Why? See, I would take it this way. Origin-based tax system में जहाँ से produce होता है वहाँ tax है. Destination में जहाँ consumption है, consumption-based tax. So we are shifting to consumption-based tax. My question is simple. If Gujarat government is giving you all facilities to do production activities, then why the tax should not go to Gujarat government and why it should go to the consumption state? There has to be some logic. So what? Meant to be sold in that state. Okay, but see, if Gujarat is giving you benefit, aren't you supposed to compensate them? there has to be some logic. We are shifting to destination based tax system. चलो जिनको सर्विस टैक्स पता है वो तो पहले से डेस्टिनेशन कंजम्पशन बेस्ड. But what about the excise and other taxes? I mean, they are the production based, origin based taxation rather than consumption. See, I believe सबको ये पता है, जिनको ना पता हो, in origin based taxation we charge a tax on, the revenue goes to the state which where the goods are getting produced. In consumption based tax system, the tax goes to state where the goods are getting consumed. So, as of now, सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम यहीं पे, मैं सिंपल वर्ड में बोल रहा हूँ, जीएसटी मिलने में इतना जो लंबा टाइम गया, उसमें सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम यही था. इसी पे तो सबसे ज्यादा झगड़ा था. सबसे ज्यादा झगड़ा भी हमने महाराष्ट्र में, तमिलनाडु में हम लोगों ने किया. क्यों? क्योंकि इंडिया के टोटल प्रोडक्शन में से 50% हम 4 स्टेट कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं. गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र, तमिलनाडु एंड आंध्र. चलो आंध्र अब 2 पार्ट में डिवाइड हो गया, दोनों को मिला तो भी 5 स्टेट 50% प्रोडक्शन कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं. अब 5 स्टेट 50% प्रोडक्शन कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं तो आप उनका टैक्स रेवेन्यू सोचो उसके हिसाब से, क्योंकि सारा रेवेन्यू उनको जाता था अभी. And now we are shifting to consumption based tax. That means doesn't make any difference कि कहाँ प्रोड्यूस हुआ है. What makes difference is कहाँ पे कंजम्पशन होता है. So now उत्तर प्रदेश is the biggest beneficiary. सीधी बात है ना, क्योंकि पॉपुलेशन still I would bit disagree on that point कि उत्तर प्रदेश is biggest beneficiary because population भले ज्यादा हो, purchasing power तो सबसे ज्यादा cosmopolitan. So you can consider Mumbai. There's one of them, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Kolkata. ये ऐसी जगह है जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा purchasing power है. As compared to Mumbai, अपने वहाँ भी नहीं है, वो आपको भी पता है. Except food, जिसमें हमारे वहाँ बहुत purchasing power है. But other than that, वो तो वैसे भी consumption में ही मिलता था. So हम लोग ही सबसे बड़ा fight किया इसके ऊपर कि if we are shifting from origin-based taxation to destination-based taxation. So these 4 states are going to lose a major revenue. And if you are understanding, it was a hardcore politics. Why hardcore politics? क्योंकि सेंटर में उस टाइम पर कांग्रेस, आपको पता है इधर हम लोग बीजेपी थे और महाराष्ट्र में भी थोड़े टाइम से बीजेपी है. सिमिलर में तमिलनाडु तो मैटर ही अलग है, तो कोई भी पार्टी नहीं है उसकी. And you can't account as Andhra. It was as of now what Chandrababu Naidu, which is again an NDA portion. So I believe they are at any cost not going to accept this. And after 2014, everything became feasible. But yes, one of the very strong reasons why we are shifting from origin-based taxation. See, it is because हम लोग सालों से origin follow कर रहे हैं ना. तो जब चेंज हो रहा है ना तो प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है. बट अगर आप लॉजिकली सोचो, गुजरात में चीज प्रोड्यूस हुई, अग्री, फैसिलिटीज गुजरात में, अग्री, टैक्स पे कौन कर रहा है? कंज्यूमर. वो कहां पे? अदर स्टेट. प्रोडक्ट कंज्यूम कहां हो रहा है? प्रोडक्ट कंज्यूम अदर स्टेट में हो रहा है, टैक्स उस स्टेट का बंदा कर रहा है. तो क्यों गुजरात को? फंडामेंटल पॉइंट देखो, अगर मैं बोलूं गुजरात में चीज प्रोड्यूस हुई, गुजरात में कंज्यूम हुई, भूल जाओ, नो प्रॉब्लम. गुजरात में प्रोड्यूस हुआ, महाराष्ट्र में सेल हुआ, प्रोडक्ट का कंजम्पशन का हो रहा है, टैक्स पे कौन कर रहा है? टैक्स महाराष्ट्र वाला भर रहा है, कंजम्पशन महाराष्ट्र में हो रहा है, तो रेवेन्यू भी तो महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट को ही जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट, महाराष्ट्र का बंदा टैक्स पे कर रहा है, गुजरात का बंदा टैक्स पे, गुजरात गवर्नमेंट को जाएगा. The only basic logic or understanding why we are shifting to destination-based tax system is this: if the tax is paid by that state, then why it should not go to that state rather than it should go to Gujarat? Just because we are providing facility, we are providing facility not to generate tax revenue, we are providing facility to generate employment opportunity, which even if the tax is not come. हमारा लॉजिक स्टेट डेवलपमेंट है, हमारा लॉजिक एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज है, हमारा लॉजिक टैक्स रेवेन्यू अर्न करना नहीं. तो जो स्टेट कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है उसी को ज्यादा दे, जो भर रहा है जहां पे प्रोडक्ट कंजम्पशन हो रहा है उसी को टैक्स आए. व्हाई इट शुड गो टू द स्टेट व्हिच इज प्रोड्यूसिंग? तो बहुत सालों से ये सिस्टम फॉलो हो रहा है, तो आज ये कैओस हुआ. Okay, logically speaking, it should go to only that state where the consumption takes. I hope everybody is clear with that. Okay, and about these four states who are going to create a problem with this. So a straight answer has been given by drafting a new act called as GST compensation law. I believe everybody is aware that कितने एक्ट पास हुए, एक CGST, एक UTGST, बराबर, एक IGST, SGST तो क्या स्टेट पे छोड़ा है ना, वो तो वहां पास होगा. मैं तो सेंटर की बात कर रहा हूँ. सेंटर पे कौन से पास हुए? CGST, UTGST, बिकॉज वो भी यूनियन टेरिटरी का है तो सेंटर ही अप्रूवल देगा. IGST and GST compensation law. There is an act called GST compensation law, and that GST compensation law is basically drafted only to compensate these taxes who are going to lose a major portion of their revenue because we are shifting from origin-based taxation to destination.